Hello friends, it's Kayla, finally back for episode 2 of Have I Already Read the Best Horror from a Specific Year. To recap you, I filmed a video a while ago where I was reacting to a Goodreads list of the best horror from every year. I made my own list of best horror from every year. There were 8 slots for each one. There were some years where I filled out the 8 easily, and there were some years where I had blank spots. In the first video in this series, I tried to fill out 2016 and I failed. So rather than try again, I'm just gonna move to 2017, and once I complete 2017, maybe I'll come back to 2016. Or actually, maybe some of these are from 2016, because I had a bunch of comments recommending me different books, and now I can't remember if they were for the next video or if they were to correct the last video. Okay, so like this one is Thin Air, a ghost story, which got recommended more than anything. And it says it was originally published in 2016 and then the paperback edition was 2017. So I guess technically I am reading one for 2016. Maybe that'll just fill out the spot. Things We Lost in the Fire was originally published in 2016 as well, but the translated version wasn't until 2017. So I was saving it for this video because also Goodreads, when they put out their list, they included this in 2017. And then we just have a whole bunch of novellas, which I'm very excited to explore. The Laws of the Skies, I remember hearing about a long time ago. Somebody said it was like Winnie the Pooh meets the Troop. So whatever that means. Every time we meet at the Dairy Queen, your whole fucking face explodes. That sounds fun. A lot of people mentioned The Warren, so I don't know what this is. And then this has been on my TBR for a minute, The Lamb Will Slaughter the Lion. And then I have a whole bunch of other ones. We've got Silent Companions, we've got Mad Black Wheel. So we're mostly 2017, but a little 2016. Whatever I fill out, if I manage to fill out anything, I will be very happy. Today, I'm just gonna grab some of the shortest ones and take them with me because 12 hours ago, I decided that we're going out of town. We have a long weekend ahead of us. Every single weekend for the rest of the summer is a long weekend because my husband is in school for 10 weeks and he's only in school from Tuesdays to Fridays. So we just have some extra time. And I was thinking one of these weekends we need to go on a trip. And then the smoke came into the valley. There's forest fires everywhere talking about horror. And we really just need to escape the smoke. So we're headed to Vancouver. There was like 2 Airbnb listings to choose from. And I picked the one that has no access except for from boats, like there's no roads. So we're about to get on a boat and stay on a cabin on technically it's the ocean. And I guess I'll see you when I'm there and reading. Good morning. I woke up in the most beautiful spot on the ocean. A beautiful view of the water, people kayaking, paddleboarding. This is our little dock. As soon as we got here last night, that's what we did. And now it's morning and we're gonna head out again. I started this last night and now I'm finishing it today. Every time we meet at the Dairy Queen, your whole fucking face explodes. I didn't think this was gonna be like the 5-star win, but I wanted to start out with something lighthearted and silly. And it definitely is that. It's like a horror romance. We're following teenagers and the boy falls in love with this girl, but every time they have a date, her face explodes, like literally explodes, and she needs reconstructive surgery afterwards. And she's made of like patchwork because all of the people who've donated their skin, I guess, to put her back together every single time. And I've just gotten to the point, a third of the way in, where they kiss for the first time. And she exploded more than ever. And like her family is excited by it because they're like, oh my God, that means she's officially in love. It's kind of like a really fucked up version of Stargirl. She's almost a manic pixie dream girl, and we're from the perspective of this guy who's just enamored by her. The school's really ostracizing her, thinks that she's weird, but she just loves everything and loves everyone, and she's very colorful and fun and quirky, and she eats her food in the shape of a heart and then throws it away so people walking past the trash can can see love. It's bizarro fiction indeed, and I'm having a fun time with it. I was just thinking about how many books are going to be in this video, and I probably shouldn't include any like random other stuff. So I am going to make a members video that's just a little lengthier. I filmed a little tour of the house last night, and then we did a crumble cookie review that I just don't feel like really needs to be in here. Sometimes that kind of stuff fits in vlogs, but I don't know when it's themed like this if it really needs to be. So there's a longer version that exists elsewhere if you want more of that. back up. I'm left in some kind of entertainment room. It's not a living room or family room. It's more of a waiting room for house guests filled with board games, books, puzzles, and a television. Filled with books, board games, and a television. It's me. Oh, and a boat. To say about this book. It ended in a crazy way, but I mean, fit with the tone of the book. It felt like a big cautionary tale for people to like not kiss and not have sex because something's gonna happen. You're gonna literally explode. It went in a direction that was like, we got the lore of this girl and her family, and then it was very uncomfortably about teens having sex. So I don't know how to rate this. Probably in the 3s. I feel like it was in the 3s, maybe like a 3.5. Does not get added to my list for 2017. And I'll check in with you when I read the next thing. I need a break from reading because this was a lot. Next book, I started The Warren. I don't know if I'm really feeling it, but it could just be a right now kind of thing. So I'm going to try this again later. It's science fiction, which of course I knew, like look at that picture, but it's not giving any horror vibes like a third of the way in, and it's a pretty quick book. So I was just like waiting, and maybe it's to come, the horrors, but I'm not in the mood for it right now. So I'm going to switch over to The Laws of the Skies, which is another one. Like I read Pen Pal about a month ago now, and it really surprised me because it's one of those books that I feel like I saw people pitch as maybe really gratuitous or really gruesome, or maybe there was some type of comp given for it that sounded like extreme horror to me, and maybe not pick up Pen Pal for the longest time, and then I finally had to, and it was so good. And it wasn't at all what I assumed it to be. So I feel like maybe this is the same case. Maybe this isn't as horrific as I assume it's going to be. But hearing about a class of 6-year-olds heading into the forest, and then there's something scary there, that doesn't make me feel good. That doesn't make me feel safe. And obviously it's horror, so it's not supposed to make you feel good. But there's horror that I like, and there's horror that other people like. And I've always kind of put this in a box in my mind of like, that's not for me, that's for someone else. But it's a novella, and I love novellas, and it's horror from the year that I'm trying to find wins from. So let's just do it. I have now read the first half of Law of the Skies by Gregoire Cortis, translated by Rodna Mullins. I didn't even know this was translated. Oh, originally published in 2016 in French, and then translated in 2019. So this is another one that I wouldn't have probably found on a list of books from 2016. Oh wait, this is 2016, not 2017. This is all over the place, but I probably wouldn't have found on a list. It would have been on a 2019. Oh, but I also have to fill in a spot for 2019. So should I consider this? Oh my gosh, I don't know. I feel like I can kind of fit it into whatever year I want. So far, I'm really intrigued, and the horror part is not what I was expecting. So there's this group of teachers and parents, very small group, just a couple of them, who take these, I think it's 12 sixth graders into the forest to play, to camp, whatever. And one of them, the adults, gets sick right away and has to leave. And so the other one takes that parent and like to the road to get picked up, to get help. And there's only one teacher left with the kids. And one of the children is, I don't want to say evil, but is unaware of how they should behave and refuses to behave appropriately. And why would they be allowed to come on this trip? I don't know. And I thought it was going to be just like a bodily function gross kind of book, because the parent who got sick, who had to leave, was like shitting herself in the woods, and it was describing her shit and like her shitty asshole that all of the kids had to see, because she was like bent over in the woods just like shitting her brains out and like puking everywhere. Nothing has continued though in that realm. And now we're just following the children as they're sitting and listening to a story. And the somewhat like kind of evil child is like, I thought you were going to tell a scary story. Like, we're sitting all around in the woods. I thought you were going to tell something frightening. And the teacher's like, fine, okay. And he tells the law of the skies. And that freaked me out, this little story inside the story. I don't know why, but I was like, oh my God, I don't like how this is going. And it's just about animals and like the kind of pecking order. I don't know. It was really weirdly uncomfortable. And now I have half of the book to go. And I think it's going to go in a Lord of the Flies direction as per this blurb. And I don't usually love books, horror books that revolve around children, but I do like Lord of the Flies. But it's not as focused on them as I thought, because we have the adults and their dynamics that we're exploring. And then we also have this story inside the story about forest animals, which should be nice, but it's not. I'm home. This is home. I have a lot of laundry to do, or I washed it and dried it. Go me, I just have to fold it. We came back to worse smoke than we left, which is definitely a bummer. It was like driving into like Peachland area. My eyes were just burning like crazy, and so much of that city is now burned. Right after I updated you, I finished this, and the second half is not that it was different from the first half. I just thought that it would be more my taste as the book went on, because of the things that were introduced, but it just remained what it was, which is like an evil child in the woods kind of story, and a bunch of children and the bad things that they will do without supervision. It was definitely gross, like one of the most descriptively uncomfortable, gory scenes with these children. So would recommend for that. I don't think, like, for the entire book, you obviously have to suspend disbelief that these 6-year-olds are having these philosophical perspectives and thoughts to share, but I did struggle my way through the second half a little bit in that realm. I thought we were kind of doing some different things, but it turned out to be a pretty straightforward story. Would still definitely recommend. It's not gonna be above a 4. It might be a 3.75. A 3.75 feels right. And now, once again, I have started a book that feels like it might be a high-rated one, but I don't want to hype myself up too much. I'm currently reading Dusk or Dawn or Day by Seanan McGuire. The first thing I have to say, halfway through this book, is I think it but could definitely, certainly be differently marketed. The vibe of it just looks very dry, and while it exudes the setting, I just feel like we could be doing something different, and I kind of think that this should look more in line with maybe the Wayward Children series, or just have some kind of cutesy element, because this is a kind of, at least at this point halfway through, lighter, quirkier kind of horror book. We have a ghost and a witch that we're following, mostly the ghost. But she lives in this very cutesy apartment, very colorful, very fun. She lives with all these cats that she saved, and it kind of feels like a little T. Kingfisher to me. This ghost has the ability of eternal youth, basically, and she has a very strong moral compass, and she, in order to stay alive, has to steal years, minutes, hours, whatever, by touching human mortal beings and taking some of their youth and just a little bit of their time. So it's like you touch this person, you take 45 minutes, and she has 45 extra minutes to live. And she's just taking it in little bits. And the ghosts and the witches have a relationship where the witches can kind of control how much time the ghost can actually take. But the relationship isn't super strong and established and like a huge part. It's not like this big grand world building, because the ghosts are also doing things kind of undercover, and they need to conceal their identity because there's also this ability that the witches have that they could like turn them into a fountain of youth for themselves or something. So being a ghost can be very lonely. And our main character, because she steals little bits of life and has to do that to survive, she feels a responsibility to also give life back to people. And so she volunteers at a suicide or crisis management hotline where she counts how many minutes she keeps people on the phone and keeps people alive. And then that kind of balances out in her mind the life that she is taking from people. And it's just this nice kind of story at this point. At the halfway mark, there's a little mystery introduced. Some entities have gone missing, and her witch friend, I think, are going to work together to find them. It's exuding a vibe for sure with like the cornfields and stuff, but I just feel like it should look a little quirkier. This is a 2017 release, so I think, even though I think they only, publishing does this for books that are really popular, especially popular, do like 10th anniversary editions and stuff, but I think, this is Tor, right? Tor, hi, you should do a 10th anniversary for this and repackage it with a totally different vibe and just like repitch this whole book now that Seanan McGuire has had so much success. I really think this could have legs. I think this could be one of my big wins for this video and for this year of 2017. I finished the book. The weather today is a little bit better. There's some blue skies. Oh yeah, it's really blue over there. It's more blue over there than over there. So we're going to take advantage of it and go golfing. And then I have a live show with my channel members where I'm supposed to read something either I was really anticipating or something that's really intimidating. So it's probably gonna be outside of this video. And then tonight, I'll move on to Silent Companions, but actually at the gym, I started listening to the audiobook and I just drove around to different bookstores and nowhere has Silent Companions. And I thought I had reserved it from the library, but I went to go read it and I don't have it. So I'm listening to the audiobook, but I will talk about that as soon as I'm not talking about this. But first I have to start talking about this. I liked it. I liked it. And so technically it's going in here, even though it's only a 4-star. And we could potentially bump it because I'm still going to complete all of the books I planned for this video regardless of when and if I find books that fit in those slots. So for now, there's a 4-star in my favorites, and there's other 4-stars already in my favorites. The grip of it is also a 4. Speaking of that one, that was in the Goodreads Choice Awards of 2017. With this one, I had no idea. I don't remember this being a book that people were talking about. I had obviously heard of it. I don't know. I picked this up as a discount book or thrifted book somewhere at some point, and it sat in my TBR closet for a while. And also I said the title wrong, Dusk or Dark or Dawn or Day. I think I say it wrong every single time. So sorry about that. It was a pretty low plot book. So while I do agree with my former self who said it needs to get more readers and I'm going to be recommending it, I am, but not as something that is for everybody. It remains more about the atmosphere and the vibe, and it's just a little bit of plot. Her writing is stunning in here, and I think being 182 pages, like, she's just really good at description. I feel that way about the We Were Children series. Like, how does she pack in so much detail and exploration of all of these characters in such few pages? Other authors I just don't think are doing that as successfully in novellas, and I love a novella. There's a couple things here. I can't remember what my list is from 2017, but I know there's some, I think most of these are novellas. Yeah, it's paranormal, it's vibey, it is a lot more like colorful in my mind. It's a more cozy type of story, warm and introspective, and obviously about like immortality or just different people's relationship with the timeline of their life and how everyone's navigating things, and there's obviously the little mystery. I just thought it was really well done and I had a good time. So that's that. And now I'm reading The Silent Companions. So we're in the 1830s, 1860s, and it's a Gothic novel. And I often say the same things about the Gothic novels that I love. I love how the opening is very often descriptively getting to a place or describing the location. And that's absolutely true with this one. So we have a woman who we're reading in 2 different timelines. One after the aftermath of what has occurred in this manor. Her husband died. She just recently got married. And he was helping her in different aspects of life, and then he dies, and people are blaming her and thinking that she's just trying to get his money, trying to take over his manor because he very recently changed his will to leave everything to her. She's pregnant with their child, and so we're following right after he has died, and she's arriving at the grand house that she's never been to. She's now the mistress, is that what it's called, of the manor, and she has people under her, she has servants, she has various people to navigate around, and there's this strange like painting or it's similar to a painting. It's like some kind, I don't know how it was described as, something that I'm sure exists and I'm just not familiar with it. Kind of like a mix between a statue and a painting. And they find it in this weird room in the house, and the weird room like makes people feel strange. And as she's touring like the house, we get all of these descriptions, and then they find this room, and then the door locks once they leave. And I guess these like painting figures are referred to as the silent companions. So that's the story that we're in. And then there's these brief little interludes where she is in a mental hospital after something has occurred in the house. And she has no real memory of what happened, but she is injured and she is not in her right mind. She's being drugged, and there's people who are trying to get answers for what happened in the house. So I like the setup. I think it's interesting. I'm probably a fifth of the way in. I think everything has been set up well. I don't feel like with Gothic novels I get excited about them. I like some of them, but they're very slow, obviously, and they're just more about the atmosphere. And obviously I like an atmospheric moment, but I love it in a novella. And I love it at the beginning of a longer novel when we're getting somewhere and we're learning about things. But at this point, I'm gonna need like some action for sure, and I don't know if that's really gonna be the tone of this book. There are a lot of Gothic novels that I just don't love the way other people do. Like, I didn't love Mexican Gothic. I don't love Rebecca. They're good, like they're 3-star reads, but it takes a little something extra to make me absolutely love a Gothic novel. Like Isabel Cañas writes a Gothic novel that I love. And this kind of has similar bones to those, and especially when it's gonna be an actual for sure kind of haunting situation and not just, oh, I'm in this house, is something weird happening. Like, I think objectively something weird is happening, so I'm into it. I have bad news. It's not my hair. Okay, it's not just my hair. I'm going through a phase, don't look at it. I think I'm DNFing the Silent Companions. It's so dry, it's so boring. I just don't think I could do 3 to 4 more hours of this. I don't think it's gonna suddenly get incredible, though I'm sure the plot picks up and it does get more interesting if I'm already not enjoying it, besides being slightly intrigued by the setting. Like, we have a whole nother perspective that I just really don't care about. I've been listening to this audiobook for 3 days and I'm only a third of the way in. Like, I just don't care. I just cannot convince myself to pick it up. And it's not me being like in a slump or something, because I just read something outside of this video that was amazing. And now everything else has to match it. There's no way it's gonna be more than 3 stars. I feel like it's probably a 3.5 star kind of experience. That's what I would give it by the end. Maybe I'll circle back to it if nothing else ends up working for me, or I get through all of the rest of my books really quickly. I'm also DNFing a whole nother book. I know. And I already edited it into the thumbnail because I like the colors and I feel like I had a vibe idea in my mind. I cannot finish this. I got 50 pages in. There's only 120 pages. I can't do it. I hate it. It feels like watching like an apocalyptic punk, like try hard indie movie where there's like a group of misfits who get together and they're like, we're so grunge. It's really tough. And I was gonna give up at like 30 pages, and I thought, let me grab the audiobook and I'll just listen and I'll vibe it out. And I couldn't find the audiobook anywhere. I found it on this random, I don't know, independent site. I paid $5 for the audiobook. I downloaded all the files and it's not edited. So like the narrator is speaking, and then when they make a mistake, they like click a button, I guess, to, I don't know, to indicate that there needs to be an edit by the editing people or themselves, whoever's putting this together, and no one edited it. So it's just like someone stumbling over their words and then repeating themselves with these little clicks. It was so funny. I could actually continue listening to it just for that. Oh, this is The Lamb Will Slaughter the Lion, by the way. It's the first book in a series from Margaret Killjoy. And it just feels like something that would have been published, you know, 10 years ago, and that I probably would have felt the same about back then. Tor sometimes hits, sometimes misses. This feels like their vibe. It just doesn't feel like mine in this moment, but it's so short. Should I just finish it? I don't know. Then I was like, oh, maybe I'm just in an audiobook mood. So I found the audiobook I was gonna find the one for this one. I don't think there is one. So this one I'm reading physically, Thin Air, A Ghost Story by Michelle Paver. I think I'll start this one. But then I also grabbed the audiobook for the Victor LaValle Changeling, which I also don't own. I thought I had all of these books ordered. I don't know what happened. And I thought this was a novella. I've always thought that this was a novella. The audiobook is 14 hours. I'm so hooked. I'm a quarter of the way in and nothing horror has happened, but I'm just really enamored by the story. And I don't know why, because I read Victor LaValle twice before. I've given him a 3 and a 4. I guess maybe because it's called The Changeling and I've read stories about changelings before, which is like you have a baby and then the changeling comes and swaps places with the baby. That I just, in my mind, have always thought of The Changeling as a fantasy novel. And for sure, Victor LaValle does, you know, occult horror, but I just thought it was gonna be, for some reason, a full-on fantasy novel, even though I've read twice from him before, and I know his vibe, and I know his genre, and I know what he's doing. So The Changeling is so far just about these regular people living a regular life, but somebody is dealing occult books. And we're just maybe kind of getting into some type of other worldliness at this point in the book, but I don't even know. I was a little bit confused where the story was going to, because we met these 2 people and they had a baby. And then we watched that kid growing up and I was like, this is the changeling? Like, I don't really get what we're doing. But no, we also follow him, that baby, throughout his entire life, and we watch him then have a baby with this woman. His father vanished in his childhood, and he ended up naming his baby after his father. And the first quarter has just been following this relationship between this man and woman, and her giving birth. It was crazy. And now they're taking care of the baby. Apollo is taking him regularly on his jobs, hunting in like various locations, deep into boxes, rare books, trying to find books to sell and to make a living. And then one day a box appears and it has some things in it that inspires Apollo to do something more with this business that he has. So that's where we're at. I haven't read the synopsis in a very long time, so I don't fully remember what it talks about, and I feel like I shouldn't fully know, but I'm so interested that I'm just going to continue listening to the audiobook. Like, I'm gonna have to find something to do around here, and I'll see you when I have a little more update on. I'm only halfway through, and I just feel like we could be getting through this story a lot quicker than we are, but I'm liking it, and it's most definitely introduced the horrific elements. Someone in the family is really struggling. Someone in the family is missing. There's a lot of other players now coming into it. I feel like this could be a 4-star. I just need it to be a little snappier. I'll be honest, reviewing this book feels like an impossible task. It was kind of like 3 different narratives all happening at the same time, or like 3 different ideas that were all brought together, and he kept me on my toes. And I'll say imaginative. That's certainly the word I would use. If you haven't read this book yet, it came out 9 years ago. Maybe you already don't want to read it. Maybe you do want to read it. I don't know if this you feel like would spoil anything, but maybe this will be the thing to convince people they should read it. Trolls. That's how weird this book gets. There are trolls. So it certainly went in a direction not following like this man dealing his rare books, which is what I was interested in. But it kind of felt like a fever dream that was really fun. And there was a lot of tough stuff that we were navigating, like pregnancy and birth at the beginning and postpartum, and then harm and fear and dreams and wishes. It wasn't mystical until it was. And I really don't know what else to say about this book. It covered a lot of topics. It had a lot to say, and it took a while to say them. I don't know what I'm rating this. Like I feel like if I'm adding something here, it should be a really confident feeling. I think we call it a 4 and we pop it in there. What do you think? And that means it's filled out. 2 of the books, the 2 books that filled it out, were a part of the Goodreads Choice Awards in 2017. So I should just believe the people. To be fair, the 2 books are from authors that I've read before, I've enjoyed before, so they felt like kind of safe picks. And I have filled out 2017. I will continue reading. I can't remember if anything else I have is 2017 or 2016. I haven't found a 5-star yet, but I haven't actually found a 5-star horror at all this year. Not just from 2017, but from 2026, 2025. I have just not come across many horror that I'm actually that interested in, or that turns out to be fantastic. So that's okay. Don't know why I'm hiding behind a cushion with my opinions. Yeah, we're gonna say I succeeded at the video. I have 3 reading updates for you. I'm very hot. I was just cleaning and listening to the audiobook of The Winter Box. So this is one that I found per recommendation from you guys on the last video to look up like awards, like the Shirley Jackson Award, the Hugo Award, to find especially short fiction that I end up liking, and like horror gets more attention in those awards than they do anywhere else. So I looked into all of like the short fiction. Some things are considered long fiction. The Winter Box fit into that category. For 2016, Tim Wagner wrote this little book, 51 pages, and it started out really well. It was interesting. It was about this husband and wife who, they're not totally meshing and getting along. They've been together for a long time, and they have this box where they put mementos prompted by the wife who wants to keep all of these memories and I don't know, just like reminisce about their relationship and think about what makes them great together. And the guy doesn't really care about the box as much. And then one day, they go back through the box and there are a lot of conversations happening about where their marriage is at. There's adultery, there's been some difficult things to navigate, and there's this fever dream-esque portion. They both have a kind of different supernatural adventure with the box. So he has to do something with the box, she has to do something with the box. And it was interesting, it was weird, it was kind of a fever dream, and I was having an interesting time. And then it got so much so quickly. I mean, it was only an hour audiobook, I think, about sex. So much about sex, and this guy couldn't stop talking about his dick, like so aggressively much, and how his like weird ghosty, I don't know, supernatural wife in this version of his reality had a really cold frozen vagina that he was inside of. It wasn't just kind of one scene, it just kept going on and referencing his his member. His member was just such a dude horror from 10 years ago, but it started out so promising and it was such a weird, fun concept. It wasn't bad. Like a 3? I think it's a 3. I listened to that after I did a little live show with my channel members where I read like the first half of Thin Air. Now Thin Air, this has potential, and this is another 2016 one. So we could fill out 2016 today. That would be crazy. This is set in the Himalayas in 1935. We're following this man, but we're following, well, 5 Englishmen. There is a group of men who are trying to summit a mountain. We're following one specific one, like from his perspective. And the first third of it was just him talking about their expedition. And I love books about hiking and mountaineering and stuff, so that was fun. He was talking about how they were preparing and how people have come before him. He was talking about the Sherpas and various other people. And he is the like medic on the trip. So he's bringing, you know, supplements or vaccines and various things to help various people. He's talking about the Sherpas and how like great they are and how great it is to have them helping them bring everything up the mountain, and how it's because he's a like medical professional. He's talking about how it's so bad for their spines, how much they're carrying, and how he wonders if maybe there's something based on where they live that makes them less needant of like the oxygen tanks and stuff. So they're trying to summit this mountain. The horror comes into it. He starts to feel this like ghost-like entity, or he thinks he hears somebody coming up behind his tent. He turns around, there's nobody there, but you can feel this presence. And then he's occasionally seeing something in the mountains that he chalks up because of his backstory, his history, his professional experience. He's like, I'm not hallucinating. Like, I'm not going through anything weird right now. Like, I'm checking in with myself. Everything seems fine. So, like, there is an entity up on this mountain with us. So I'm finding that interesting. Plus, we're getting lots of, like, climbing and preparing and the ice falling and scary things that could kill anybody at any moment. I don't know that I would put this in a horror category at this point in the book, but maybe some things are really going to go down. If it just remains this eerie kind of something's happening, I see something that isn't there, like, I don't know, it would probably fit in a better category. So I was reading that physically earlier, and then I had the audiobook of this. I don't remember when I got it, but I listened to the titular story in here, Things We Lost in the Fire. This is Mariana Enriquez. I love Our Share of Night by her. This very long, translated by Megan McDowell, horror novel. And that one actually came out in 2016 or 2017, but wasn't published in English until 2021 or 2023. So that got put in the proper year. So I am considering the year that the book was translated and came out in the language I can read it in as the year it came out. So The Laws of the Skies that I read earlier, that I would have put in the 2019 category if I had ended up loving it. So I had the audiobook already because I've already read that one story. I don't remember why, I don't remember what it was for, but I gave it 3 stars, and I guess I just never really cared to continue in the short story collection because I prefer this author fully fleshing out a long novel. And I find a lot of these stories, now that I've restarted it, kind of unsatisfying. And when I'm looking for a horror short story, I want it to end with a eerie moment, like an ominous thing or like something really scary. And this is socially scary, financially scary, politically scary for sure. The first story, there was a character named Lala in it. It was called The Dirty Kid. This one I wrote was about regret and wealth disparity. Those are the themes that I would pull out most. There was a young boy who was harmed in Buenos Aires. The second story was called The Inn. I gave it 2 stars. The next story I gave 3 stars, The Intoxicating Years. I said it ended too soon, also about wealth disparity. Some of these I've been reading physically, most of them audio. Adela's House I just read physically, and I gave that one 4 stars. It was like a haunted house and there was a missing person. That one was quite good. And Uncomfortable, there was like a story within the story. An Invocation of the Big-Eared Runt and Spiderweb I gave 2 stars. So I haven't had a huge win in here yet, but it's only going to take me like another hour to complete these, and then another hour to complete this, and then we have 3 stories or 3 books, 3 experiences from 3 different authors done today. I did it, everyone. I finished my books. It's very late at night. In fact, it's tomorrow, or it's today, but it was the tomorrow of yesterday. So I'm gonna give Things We Lost in the Fire, unfortunately, a 3. I gave most of the stories a 3 or a 2 or a 4. Like, it was all a mix. There was nothing that I rated really highly in that second half that I feel like I need to tell you about. There were stories of police, there were stories of corruption, there were stories of femicide, and just a lot of harm done to a lot of different people in all of the trials of people living in Argentina. The stories were very often sad, and that's a horror of its own. We're talking about very important, heavy things, and so I feel like shit giving it a low average rating, but I just don't know that this is what I'm looking for in a short story collection, but I thought it was all kind of fine. This was also quite sad. I would say more than any other feeling, there is just a feeling of devastation for everything to be uncovered in this story. It kicks off really as a classic tale. A bored man who's questioning his relationship, career, runs to the mountains to find himself. And then his personality kind of drops off, like it's not really a self-discovery kind of story. It's not really about him. It could really be about anybody. And it's him being haunted on this mountain and discovering the truth of the expeditions that have come before. It's atmospheric, a little bit chilling. There was one moment where he wakes up next to an item that it freaked me out. I love books about obsession, and I would almost say this is kind of that, because the fear that this man feels is an obsession of its own. And there are moments where he's making bad decisions and putting himself in danger because of this fear and this obsessive thinking and seeing something out there. I would definitely recommend this one. I think it holds up. But I don't think this is going to be anybody's new favorite horror. Like, I don't see many people, I can't imagine that many people giving this 5 stars and saying it's the most incredible thing that they've read this year. But it's very good. And I am giving it a 4, which means, my friends, in one of the final hours of this challenge, I'm adding something and completing the 2016 favorite horror books. Even though this is a 4, there are 3 stars in here. And I said before, I would like to get rid of those. I put the Ian Reid here as a respect thing because a lot of people love it and I wanted it to be a favorite and I like it more than anything else in the 3s that I have read. So I popped it in there, but I would still like to take an opportunity to swap that one out. Same with the YA that's in there. But I have indeed with this book, thanks to you all recommending this more than anything else, 2016 is complete and 2017 is complete. But I do still have one more book to read tomorrow, so I will chat with you then. I am now 3 for 6 for DNFing books that I put in my own thumbnail. I gave it a good effort, okay? I tried. I really tried, and I was hyping this one up because I'm a Josh Malerman girl, and I feel like I tend to like the ones that other people don't like. I guess I'll put up my ranking. Like, I don't understand why people don't like Daphne, and I don't understand why people do like Incidents Around the House. Or like reader to reader, sure, I understand, but like just the collective readership of Josh Malerman kind of agrees that one is bad and one is good, and I don't agree. And so I thought, okay, with Black Mad Wheel, this is one that isn't super popular. And what happened to me with Unburied Carol is it sat in my TBR closet for years, and then I put it off and put it off, and when I finally got to it, I loved it. And I thought maybe that would happen with this one too, but I got 120 pages in and I have to give up. I think maybe between this and The Silent Companions, I'm just not really interested in a historical story right now, following someone who has lost their memory, and like that's so much of the story, and then we have a couple different timelines that we're following. It's just not doing anything for me. I'm finding it really dry. This story is set during the war. It's in 1950 something. There's this band and they have been hired because musicians are just so good at sound and stuff. Like, this random band of dudes has gotten hired by the army to go to Africa, Namibia, to track down this sound that is doing things. So like, people can't shoot guns there because this sound will jam the guns. And now what the sound has done in the future timeline is, I guess it's like broken all the bones in this one man's body. He's the only surviving one, we know that from the group, and he's been in a coma for 6 months, and now he has no memory, and the story is just about him kind of remembering what happened. Conceptually, it's interesting. That's why I own it. That's why I've owned it for many, many years. But I just don't feel like anything that interesting is actually happening, and I'm so incredibly bored. I also don't really like the writing. I don't like the perspective that we're reading from. It's getting on my nerves. And I was so hyped to read this. Like, I was really excited to pull up 2017, the board that we filled out, and maybe have to like already swap something in, like it was a little competition. But there's no way this would be above a 3 for me, so I'm just gonna give up on it. It reminds me of what happened in the last horror video that I did, where I was finally reading like the one final Paul Tremblay that I hadn't read before, and it was a disappointment, and I don't want to end my week like that. I don't want to end the video like that. I just don't want to. So I'm not gonna. I also don't want to leave the video on a DNF. So I am gonna return to the Warren. I'm gonna give this another go, and maybe it'll be a big win. This is a 2016 one, so it could swap out one of the books from 2016 that I would like to. And we'll just see how this little novella goes. X doesn't have a name. He thought he had one, or many, but that might be the result of the failing memories of the personalities imprinted within him. Or maybe he really is called X. He's also not as human as he believes himself to be. But when he discovers the existence of another, above ground, outside the protection of the Warren, X must learn what it means to be human or face the destruction of their two species. So yeah, I was a little confused by what was happening in the first 3 pages, and it wasn't really letting me in on anything. It just dropped me into chaos. But I think that's also what's happening to the character. So let's commit to it and hope we end the video on a bang. And we found a 3-star for the video. This was fine. It was another book about recovering memories or kind of the attempt to do so. I wanted it to read more like Leech, but it read more like, whatever that like neon green book I hated a couple years ago was. The style reminded me so much of that. Just being stuck in a character's head who's just asking question after question and trying to solve something, but they don't even know what they're trying to solve. He's confused about who he is, and he shares memories with all who came before. And the wondering constantly of who am I? What is my purpose? There's something about that I really like. Existential horror is definitely for me. But at the end of the day, I just didn't really like the writing of it. I didn't like the head that we were in. I just didn't feel it that engaging, but it was interesting conceptually. Another one where the idea is better than the follow through for me personally. Thank you for putting this one on my radar. It popped up in the comments a lot. On the surface, this absolutely sounds like something that I would love, but it's another case of when you combine science fiction with horror, like I never know how it's gonna go. It often doesn't go great. I think I like those two things to exist independently. If this didn't have anything horrific in it, I maybe would have been more interested. If it didn't have any science fiction, then it just couldn't really exist. So anyway, we're landing on another 3, and that is the end. We gotta call it. The video has to end here. And let me show you really quickly kind of where I'm at with all of my reads from every single given year. So this is every single horror book that I have read from 2016. I've only had 1 5-star ever from 2016, but I've had a lot of 4s. So that's where I got my favorites from, mostly 3s, which is pretty typical of my reading in general. This is every horror book that I've read from 2017. There's 8 solid books in there. 5 stars and 4 stars. That combined makes my 8 favorites of the year. 2 of them were found in this video, which is very cool. I feel like this is a really good balance. Like 2017 looks nice, especially when you compare it to 2016, which only has 1 5-star, and 2019, which has no 4 stars. This is my year of just hater Kayla. I hate so much 2019 horror that I read, and there's a handful of ones that are just so incredible. So if there's anything that you'd like to recommend to me from 2019 for perhaps the final video in this series, I would love to hear it, especially anything that doesn't involve young children, because I feel like I've read enough of them, and a lot of the 2019 books that I see like in the Critics' Choice Awards and wherever else follow young children. That just seems to be what everyone was writing about in this year. And then potentially we have to have a video for 2026. If you think about it, I've done one for every single year of the last 10 years, but what about this year? I haven't had a 5-star horror from 2026, so we should probably read some of my most anticipated ones in a vlog at some point and try to fill out this, because right now it's completely blank. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in another video soon. Bye!